Caitlin Clark, right? Like she's lighting things up. She's probably made more in NIL money or could potentially make more. The money in the WNBA is non-existent.
Right.
Right? Like,
but she could change that.
But can she?
Something went down behind closed doors in Indiana. Something that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the Fever. According to several podcasters and online insiders, a secret meeting was held at Pacers Entertainment headquarters, bringing together billionaire owner Steve Simon, head coach Stephanie White, and top Fever executives. What was said inside that room has never been confirmed publicly. But if even part of the rumors are true, it could explain every strange move we've seen over the past few months, from puzzling lineup changes to Caitlin Clark's shifting role, and the sudden change in the team's overall energy. They say when money starts acting funny, power takes the floor. And that's what this story is really about. Money, power, and the most valuable rookie in women's basketball history. Because when a billionaire reportedly says, "This is CCT from here on out," short for Caitlin Clark's team, that's not just locker room talk. That's a corporate directive.
I feel like your two Iowa teams left a mark on women's college basketball, but also women's basketball at large. Is that like kind of crazy to think about? Like you were a part of something that was a catalyst for this like larger group.
I had heard about this Caitlin Clark and I was like watching videos of her just like having like 40 points, like averaging.
To really understand how we got here, you have to look at who's actually running the Indiana Fever. Most fans see the Fever as just another WNBA team. But behind the curtain, they're part of one of the most powerful sports empires in America. The franchise is owned by the Simon family, the same billionaires who control the Indiana Pacers and the massive Simon Property Group, the largest shopping mall company in the United States. At the top sits Herb Simon, a legend in Indiana's business world, now in his 90s and long past the grind of daily operations. That responsibility falls to his son, Stephen Howard Simon. As vice chairman of Pacers Sports and Entertainment, Steve is widely believed to be the real decision-maker behind both the Pacers and the Fever. He doesn't post online. He doesn't chase the spotlight. And he doesn't have to. When you control an empire worth billions, silence is power. So, when ticket sales started dipping, viewership began to slide, and Caitlin Clark's name wasn't trending like before. Sources say the Simon family noticed. And when billionaires start paying attention, someone always gets a phone call.
Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier were named WNBA All-Star Captains for this year's WNBA All-Star Game. The captains were chosen via fan vote, and Caitlin Clark received 1.29 million All-Star votes this year.
When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, she wasn't just a player, she was a phenomenon. Her debut shattered viewership records. Jersey sales exploded overnight. Fever tickets went from impossible to sell to completely sold out. For the first time in years, Indiana basketball, not just the Pacers but also the Fever, owned the national spotlight. Every deep three she launched wasn't just a shot. It was marketing gold. Brands wanted her face. Networks wanted her games. Kids wanted to be her. Clark's arrival was supposed to usher in a new era, not only for the Fever, but for the entire WNBA. But then, something changed. The system shifted. The coach changed. And suddenly, the team's identity felt different. The logo threes disappeared. The highlights slowed. The Fever started playing safer, slower, less exciting basketball. Fans began to ask, what happened to Caitlin Clark's freedom? And quietly, deep inside Pacers Entertainment headquarters, those same questions were reportedly being asked by someone with far more power than a coach or a player.
2 turnovers in a row, and Steph yanked me, and she was like, this is like a learning moment. Do we need that in this moment? Like, no. Right. And then she subbed me back in. There was a play where I kind of got a steal, and like we're going in transition, and Kelsey Mitchell just like takes off down the middle of the floor. And so there's like 2 people kind of by her, and I literally like go to grab the ball, and then I like just dribble out.
When Stephanie White took over as head coach, her vision was clear, a balanced offense built on teamwork, not stardom. She wanted motion, structure, and discipline. The kind of basketball purists appreciate. But casual fans often tune out. The result? Caitlin Clark's role began to shrink. The system limited her signature deep threes, and at times, she looked less like a phenom and more like a facilitator. To be fair, the strategy worked, at least on paper. The Fever started winning. They even made the playoffs for the first time in years. But while the team's performance improved, something else started slipping. Ticket sales dipped. Ratings cooled. The viral moments that once dominated social media went silent. Because the truth is, the WNBA's biggest attraction isn't just about wins and losses. It's about Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark, and according to multiple reports, that's when the higher-ups started getting uneasy. When the money machine slowed down, the family that owned the machine decided to take control. And that's where this story takes a turn.
I think it's a really big thing that Diana Taurasi got on the mic and she said these things about Clark after. It kind of, I don't know if it's going to change the viewpoint of Caitlin Clark from a lot of these old bitter, all these old bitter Bettys that are still in the league.
According to comments uncovered during a Fever fan live stream, later discussed by several podcasters, an insider claimed that Steve Simon himself called a private meeting with head coach Stephanie White and top executives Amber Cox and Kelly Kroskoff. The alleged message? Crystal clear. This is CCT from here on out. Caitlin Clark's team. If true, that was a direct order from the ownership level, a mandate to rebuild everything. The system, the brand, the focus, all centered around Clark. Why? Because she isn't just a player. She's a billion-dollar investment in media, marketing, and cultural relevance. The rumor goes that Simon told the trio that from now on, every decision must prioritize Clark, her comfort, her usage, and her visibility. And apparently, not everyone in that room agreed. Point one of them, allegedly, was Stephanie White. Reports claim she pushed back, hard, furious at the idea of redesigning her entire system around one player. And when Steve Simon reportedly replied, "You don't have to like it, but that's the way it is," the tension inside that office reached a breaking point.
You don't understand how hard it was for me to not throw that. And she's like, "Oh, I know, trust me." Everybody was like, "We saw you about to throw that." But I think it's just like kind of a learning process.
This clip bothered me because if you watch that play where she didn't pass Kelsey the ball after Coach Stephanie White benched her for having a few turnovers in a row, that would have been a moment.
Now, is any of this confirmed? No. But this is where the story starts to line up with reality. After that alleged meeting, fans began noticing something strange. Publicly, head coach Stephanie White praised Kelsey Mitchell as the team's cornerstone, calling her the key to the Fever's offense moving forward. But behind the scenes, whispers suggested that the coach and the front office were no longer aligned. The tension, insiders say, wasn't just about basketball, it was about control. White wanted her motion offense. Ownership wanted Caitlin Clark's team. And in a franchise owned by billionaires, it's usually not hard to guess who wins that fight. Still, to her credit, Stephanie White didn't fold. She doubled down on her system. Even as fan frustration grew, speculation kicked into overdrive. Was White's job in jeopardy? Was the front office divided? And more importantly, was Caitlin Clark caught in the middle of a silent power struggle she never asked for? Some insiders now believe this exact tension explains why the Fever's offseason feels so uncertain. Because if ownership truly picked a side, the coaching staff might not be as secure as it appears. And that brings us to the one thing that always cuts through rumor. Money. Let's be honest, billionaires don't obsess over offensive schemes. They care about revenue. They care about sold-out arenas, broadcast ratings, and sponsorship checks with more zeros than you can count. And no one in women's sports history has moved money like Caitlin Clark. When she was on fire, the Fever's numbers skyrocketed. When her role shrank, those numbers cooled. That's not opinion, that's business reality. When reports claim Steve Simon allegedly called everyone into his office and said, "This is CCT from here on out," it actually makes perfect sense from a corporate perspective. You protect the star who built your brand. You build your system around what fans pay to see. It's not ego, it's economics. And the Simon family didn't build a billion-dollar empire by ignoring economics. If the machine printing money starts to slow down, you fix it immediately. Now, to be clear, all of this remains alleged. None of these meetings have ever been confirmed publicly. But the pattern, the friction, the business slowdown, the sudden strategic pivot, it all points in one direction. And when the dots connect this neatly, it's hard to ignore. Because this story stopped being about basketball a long time ago. It's about power and who really runs Indiana sports. Is it the coach on the sideline or the billionaire upstairs with the final say? If the rumors are true, the Fever aren't Caitlin Clark's team just because of talent. They're hers because ownership said so. And that means every coach, player, and executive in Indiana just got a new boss. One who wears number 22. Think about it. A 90-year-old billionaire passes the reins to his son. A generational superstar reshapes the economics of an entire league. A coach tries to hold onto her system. And somewhere in between, a quiet power struggle decides the future of women's basketball in Indiana. It sounds like fiction, until you look at the numbers, the timing, and the silence that followed. No one's denying the rumors. But no one's addressing them either. And sometimes silence is the loudest confirmation of all. Because if even part of this is true, Caitlin Clark didn't just change the Fever. She changed who runs the Fever. And that's a kind of power the WNBA has never seen before it as, oh, maybe this isn't just about basketball anymore. Maybe it's about control, money, and legacy. And right now, in Indiana, those three things all seem to belong to one person. Caitlin Clark. Here's the question keeping fans and insiders up at night. What happens next? If ownership truly declared that this is Caitlin Clark's team, then next season won't just be about basketball, it'll be about alignment. Will Stephanie White adapt and rebuild around Clark's strengths, or will this mark the end of her run in Indiana? And what about the locker room? Will veterans like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston embrace the shift, or will quiet resentment start to grow? These are elite competitors. Every player wants to lead. But in the new Indiana hierarchy, there might only be room for one superstar. Fans are already noticing the signs: a new marketing direction, more Clark-centered promotions, and subtle hints from executives about maximizing our global reach. Translation: they're doubling down on Caitlin Clark. Expect sponsorships, game plans, and even media coverage to orbit around her next season. Because this isn't just the WNBA's most famous rookie anymore. This is a billion-dollar brand in sneakers and a ponytail. The Fever might not say it publicly, but actions speak louder than press releases. And every sign points to a massive internal shift. One that could define not just a season, but the entire future of the franchise as the dust settles in Indiana. One thing is clear. The balance of power has changed, the money is watching, and the fans can feel it. The only question now is who will still be standing when the next tip-off comes?